8. Your hearing, we're going to read verses 12 through 20. Book of Deuteronomy. I know that page may be stuck. I've been there in a while. Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 8. We're going to read, starting at verse 10. But I want to implore you, if you would, in your spare time, that you would at least read the whole 8th chapter. At least. You refer to it, but only your hearing. We're going to start at verse 10. You get that? Say amen. Amen. When thou hast eaten and art full, when thou shalt bless the Lord thy God for the good land which he has given thee, beware that thou forget not the Lord thy God, in not his keeping his commandments and his judgments and his statutes which I command thee this day. Least when thou hast eaten and art full, and hast built goodly houses and dwell therein, and when thy herds and thy flocks multiply, and thy silver and thy gold is multiplied, and all that thou hast is multiplied, when thy heart be lifted up, and thou forget not the Lord thy God, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage, who led thee through that great terrible wilderness, wherein were fierce serpents and scorpions and drought, where there was no water, who brought thee forth water out of the rock of flint, who fed thee in the wilderness with manna, which thy fathers knew not, that he might humble thee, and that he might prove thee to do these good at the latter end. And thou stay in thy heart. Thou say in thy heart, excuse me, my power and the might of my hand has gotten me this way. But when thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that has given thee power to get well, that he may establish his covenant, which he sware unto thy fathers, as it is this day. I want to talk about don't forget. I look at you, the one closest to you, and tell him, don't forget. Don't forget. I asked you all a question a few minutes ago. How many of you all feel that you are blessed? And I saw all of your hands go up, but see, that was part A. That was part A. I set y'all up. I set y'all up. See, you know you're blessed, but there's another part. You're blessed, but are you better? Are you better? Are you better? It's one thing to be blessed, but are you better for being blessed? You see, it's a thing. And I know most times we don't go to Deuteronomy, and Deuteronomy is a really of the restatement of the law that they got to Mount Sinai. See, when you get to Deuteronomy, all those that came out of Egypt, that were over 20, they died in the wilderness. So this is a new group. So Moses had to give a reinstatement of the law before they went into the land of Canaan. So just before they was going in, he would remind them that when you get in and things are good, you got to remember that you're blessed. But the question is, are you going to be better? Now, and you all can say what you want to. I know we're blessed. We got things that, you know what, some of us never dreamed that we could have. You know what, we're able to go some places that we never thought we were able to go. We're able to do some things. We're able to reach some levels that we never thought our parents never were able to reach. But the problem is, are we better? I look at it, you know what, and I'm using our generation, you know what, we're able to go some of the finest schools. We can live in some of the finer neighborhoods based on what, but the offspring of us, I'm looking around, they walk around showing their drawers. They have no respect. They go in the restroom, they use the restroom, won't even flush the restroom. We've been blessed, but are we better? Are we better? Are we better? Are we better? And the reason is You know what? We can't blame Satan. We can't blame Satan. We can't blame our young folk. You know why even though we blessed, we know why we're not better? It's because we forgot. We forgot. We forgot. Sometimes, you know what, I check, and that's me, I don't get caught up in so much things. I realize I'm better, but sometimes I ask myself, better. I grew up in West Dallas. I grew up in West Dallas. I grew up, for the most part, in 3827 Vineyard Drive. That's where I grew up. And during that time, in March of 1968, God blessed my father to work hard. My mom and dad, they worked hard. And not only did we get a new house, they built that house from the ground up. We were blessed among it. In fact, within blocks, it was only 3 brick houses in the whole neighborhood. And they were, man, you know what? And we were blessed. We had 3 bedrooms. I mean, you know, we had a living room, we had a dining room, we had a kitchen, had a bathroom. I mean, we had a front yard, we had a backyard. I mean, we were blessed. And then I looked, when I left there, I was able to get a house at 1225 Aldenwood. And that house, I had 3 bedrooms. I had a den, I had a living room, I had a dining room, I had a 2-car garage. And what happened is, God moved me further than that. I got another house. I got a bigger house, I got an office bigger than a bedroom. But you know what, Rita, I don't get caught up in that. Because before that was a 3827 Vineyard. Before that was a 1225 Aldenwood. Before that was a 717 Heather Knoll. There was a 3927 Southwest Wood. Well, let me give you the layout of that house. It was a frame house. We didn't own the house. You walk in the house, you walked in the house, you walked into the living room, you walked into the living room. To the left was a TV. To the right, there was only 1 chair. You walked in, you had a couple of pictures on the wall. That was the divan. Y'all call it the couch. We called it the divan. You know what? It was also the library, because it was in that room when we got out of school that, you know what, we laid stuff on the floor, and we laid in the floor and did our homework. There was a water cooler. It only had 1 window in that living room. That's where the water cooler was. See, that living room was a living room by day, but it was a bedroom by night. See, that was the bedroom for the boy. It was a bedroom. Well, let's not go too far. Let's go by 3 steps. And it didn't have a door, but it had an entryway. You go by 3 steps, and then there was another little small room. That was the girls' room. They had 1 bed. They should. Well, let's go to about 3 steps to the west. See, that was my mom and dad's room. Again, wasn't no doors in the house. They just had a sheet up in the door entry. Well, let's go back into the girls' room, and let's take about 5 steps. We're going to walk in the kitchen. In the kitchen, you have stove, you had an ice box. We didn't have a refrigerator. We had an ice box. And in one of the corners, you had a washer. We didn't have a dryer. You had a clothesline. And we're going to go 3 steps to the right. That was the bathroom. So when I started talking about 717, I can't ever forget 39 and 27 Southwest Moreland. See, I ain't never forgot. See, I don't care how, well, God bless you. You know what? You have to remember that, you know what, before you, where you are right now, you know what, don't ever forget where you come from. Y'all remember how mom and dad said, you know what, don't ever forget where you come from. I don't care how you go, don't ever get your focus. And see, that's what Moses was telling the children of Israel in the book of Deuteronomy. Don't forget. Yes. When you get to the land of Canaan, we blessed, but always better, always better. So and I want to lift up 3 verses out of here, and then we're going on our way home. We're going on our way home. Look at verse 11, if you will. He said, beware, lest I forget, not the Lord thy God is not keeping his commandments and his judgment and his statutes, which I command thee this day. And all he was saying, he says, you know what? When God gives you height or enhances you, it ought to give you some hunger. See, one of the reasons that, you know what, we are not blessed even more is because we haven't learned to be humble. We haven't learned to be humble. You know what? God blessed us, but we're not humble. We arrogant. God has blessed us, and we think God ought to give us more. You know what? We moved from a 1-room house, you know what, to a 12-room mansion, and you know what? And then we're talking about, I remember when I bought that house. You know, God built the house at 1225. Aldenwood, my realtor and my former wife, then she said, well, you know what? This is a good starter house. Starter house. This is a starter house, middle house, and an end house. I mean, what you mean? A starter house. know what? It's a reason God caught you and kept you in the wilderness for 40 years. He says, you know what? He fed you when you couldn't feed yourself. He said he wouldn't even let you, you know what? You didn't get sick. He said, you know what? You didn't have to change shoes. Your feet didn't swell. He said, but now you're going to go into the land of Canaan. And remember, as God elevates you, don't forget your humbleness. Don't forget young folk. You know what? Your mom and dad has worked hard. You know what? You're being blessed. You know what? I can remember at 38:27. I mean, you know what? We had one TV at 39:27. I mean, you know what? And you know, I told y'all I should have done that little bus longer than I was. And the only TV program, I watched a lot of TV programs. But Sister Hernandez, you know, the only TV program that keeps flashing in my head, I remember the day that Martin Luther King got killed. I remember the day that Martin Luther King got killed. I don't know where my mom and daddy had been. I don't know where they had been. And me and Sister Johnson was the only one at home. And you know what? And I didn't have sense to know that they was rerunning. I didn't have sense to know they was rerunning the same thing over and over. So when my mom and daddy got home, I said, Daddy, Martin Luther King is alive again. He's alive. He keep dying, but he keep getting back up. I didn't have sense enough to know that we. I didn't have sense enough. You know what? I didn't have sense. I ain't got much sense more than that now, but I didn't have sense enough that every time they showed, I thought every time they showed it, he had got. You know what? He had died again and got back up. Y'all laugh with me, don't laugh at me. Don't. But all I'm saying is, when I look, see, in that house, you had that one TV, y'all, and then when that TV went out, y'all remember, y'all, you know, you didn't throw it away. You set a little smaller TV on top of that TV, and then you had rock clouds that went one way. So now our houses, we got TVs in every room. We got radios, we got VCR, we got DVDs, we got CDs. You know what? We're blessed, but we're not better. We're not better. You know what? Because when God enhanced us, we didn't become humble. We didn't become humble. See, the only thing we used to have was God. Now that God has changed our address and given us a change of raiment, we'll forget God. We'll forget God. We'll forget. Somebody got this morning and forgot God. You know what? They was all right with the job on Friday. They got this morning and said, well, I ain't going today. I ain't going today. But do you not know they're giving peace slips every day? Once God bless you, you ought to remain humble. Well, I'm just about out of here, y'all. I'm just about here because you know what? One thing I prayed about this sermon. I didn't pray for the delivery of this sermon. I didn't pray. I just said, Lord, when I preach this sermon, I don't want to cry. I've been crying all week. I've been crying all week because every time I think about 39:27, every time I think about 39:27, see, 39:27 helped kill my daddy. 39:27. See, y'all can say what you want to. See, I'm about to cry now. See, 39:27 helped kill my dad. You say, what you mean helped him? Because see, when it was 30 degrees outside, he had to keep on going. See, he couldn't go say, you know what? Because in that house, there was 5 kids and 2 adults in just that little house. And he couldn't say, well, I don't feel like going to work today. So when he was laying, driving them judge buggies, and it's 15 degrees outside, he had to remember, well, I can't lay up and sleep today because I got 5 kids that need shoes on their feet and clothes on their backs and food on the table. He said, so I got to get up and go. So what happened was, a lot of their coals sit up in their bodies. So they couldn't live the prosperous life that, you know what, maybe you and I, and now we can live it and we're not hungry. They couldn't go to school, they went to the field, and we go to school and won't go to class. We blessed up, but are we better? Are we better? In verse 14, in verse 14, he said, in that heart be lifted up and not forget the Lord thy God, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. All he's saying, he says, you know what? He said, when you get things, there ought to be some thankfulness. Have you ever looked at people? We don't all have what we want. Let's be honest. But you know what? We sure got more than we used to have. But are we thankful? He said, when you consider what God have done, he says, one thing to have things, but in the midst of your things, do you have some thankfulness? Or are you thankful for the food? See, you used to, you know what, now you can go home and mom would ask your children, what y'all want to eat today? See, the menu was whatever was left from yesterday. That was the menu. I know some of y'all get out today, y'all. You know how we do it now. When you get ready to leave work, you say, well, pull something out for dinner tonight. So you go and you say, well, baby, what do you want? Pork pork chops, or you want steak, or you want chicken. Well, it didn't used to be that way. Whatever was left from Sunday, that's what we ate Monday. And whatever was left from Monday, that's what we ate with Tuesday. And you put a little gravy in it, or you smother it with something, and what have you. See, now we got things. Now we got to change arrangements. Now, you know what? We got some things, but we're not thankful. We got a Chevrolet, but it won't do because I saw that new Infiniti. I was looking at it last night. 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm watching TV knowing that the clock changed at 2. That clock went from 1:59 to 3 o'clock. I saw it. Here I am looking at an Infiniti, and I'm saying, man, that Chevrolet ain't driving. Chevrolet, man, you can lease it for $2.99. I'm saying, Lord, I can do that. But then when I got up this morning, I said, Lord, thank you for the Chevrolet. Thank you for the Chevrolet. God, you know what high as gas is, and another car. No, I said, Lord, I'll just do with the Chevrolet. Lord, as long as the Chevrolet, and see, if the Chevrolet put me down, see, I ain't too proud to use Pat and John.
All right.
You say, Reverend, what's Pat and John? They are 14, or from 14. See, you know what? See, I ain't too proud to catch a bus. I ain't too proud to walk. You know why? Because there was a time. That's all we had. That's all we had. You know what? We used to, I used to catch a bus and go all over the city of Dallas. Now I'm scared to get on the bus because I'll get lost. We got things. We got things. He said, now don't forget that you know what? That when God enhances you, you ought to become humble. And when God gives you some things, you ought to learn to be thankful. But look at verse 18. He says, but thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth. I'm going to stop right there. He said, you know, when you get wealth, you ought to get some wisdom. You ought to get some wisdom with your wealth. See, now, you know what? See, used to, you know, they would take, I used to see my mom. They used to keep the bills on the dresser. And they would play. They would play, you know, games with the bills. So you move one bill here. It ain't going nowhere, but you say, well, I can pay a little on this, and they won't cut it off. And I can pay a little bit on that, and they won't cut it off. And you know what? So now, you know what? We pay our bills, and we got a little left. But you know what? We got some wealth. We just ain't got no wisdom. We just ain't got no wisdom. You know why? Because we forgot how it used to be. Look at the back part of it. He says, give thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he swore to thy father, as it is this day. God said, if you give me what you got, he said, you know what? I can show you how to stretch it. But our problem is, you know what? We'll take it, and we'll start moving it rather than pay bills. And then after we pay our bills, then we start blowing it foolish. See, we don't have no wisdom with our wealth. And see, wealth don't mean just money. Have you ever noticed now? Sometimes, you know what? We didn't have to work hard as our, you know what? We didn't have to work as hard as our parents and our grandparents. But you know what? Have you ever noticed they're in better shape than we are? You know why? Because we wasn't wise with our wisdom. I just told you I was up to 2 o'clock this morning, knowing that you got to turn time up. See, that was a time, you know what? You used to be in the bed with the chicken. And you got your rest. Now we got HBO, Showtime, ESPN 1, 2, and 3, ESPN U-verse, ESPN HD, and we just flip. Too stupid to go to bed. Get up in the morning, Lord, give me strength. He said, fool, I gave you some common sense. You just didn't go to bed. So you know what? Forget. Well, let me get out of it, because see, it's an admonition in verse 19 and 20. Before they went in, Moses said, now, if y'all don't do that, this is what God is going to do. Look at verse 19. He says, and it shall be, if thou do at all forget the Lord thy God, and walk after other gods, and serve them and worship them, I will testify against you today, this day, that ye shall, he said, you can forget if you want to, but if you forget, you're going to die. And he don't necessarily mean physical death. But if you notice, people, you know what? We blessed, but we ain't blessed. You know why? Because we forgot what God have done for us. Look at verse 20. And as the destroyed before your face, so shall ye perish, because ye would not be obedient unto the voice of the Lord your God. See, it's one thing to be blessed, but are we better? And the reason we're not better is because we forgot. We forgot. Just coming out the store the other day, this young man, he got to be in his early teens, and he was mad at his mama because his mama wouldn't let him drive. Mom, why can't I drive? You said to her, why can't I drive? And I'll be wanting, yeah. Why can't I drive? She should have said, well, fool, wow. What gives you the thing you need to drive? What bills do you pay? What car note do you pay? What insurance do you pay? What room do you clean up? What groceries do you buy? And I'm supposed to drive. Sister Long, did you ever drive the family car? See, I remember when she started learning to drive, because I used to see her. See, my friend, we had bicycles, we could go everywhere. I used to see her speeding in the projects. But you know what? Now, we give them everything, but they're not better. And the problem is not with the young folks. I ain't throwing around. See, the problem is with us. Because, see, you know what? We forgot. We forgot. What did we forget? That when God allows us to enhance, we forgot to be humble. We forgot to be humble. We're not humble, y'all. That, you know what? That things ought to bring things from this. But the problem is when we get things, we want more things. And wealth ought to bring us with it. I used to wonder, people, how did folk that had no job making 50 cents an hour always had money? Now we got jobs and whatever, and we always look. Because we got wealth, we just ain't got no wisdom. Because we buy everything we think we want. Not what we need. I told y'all people for years, and I'm still the way. I'm the layaway king. I don't use no credit card for nothing. My credit card not even activated. If I see something I want, and I ain't got the money, I'm going to lay it away. Let me put $10 on this. See, I got that kind of credit before. Let me put $50 on this. I see you next week. You said, Reverend, why is that necessary? Why can't you get it right now? Well, see, if I get it right now with the credit card, see, if it was on sale, then you add 17%, all of a sudden it ain't on sale no more. See, I try to use a little wisdom with my wealth. And then I always try to have a little mad money. Love my mama, love my mama. I know my mama would have spent all my daddy's money. That ring, he used to always keep that little stash in the back of the wallet. The money was folded so tight. You got to find it. You got to look for it. Because he said, son, a man, a real man, should never be broke. Always ought to have a little piece of money. So with me, broke don't mean broke. Broke just means broke to you. Don't mean broke to me. All right? The rest of Henry, you ask Tommy, can you let me have, I know I ain't heard her say it, but she's typical. I'm not being a sexist, but she's typical. Can you let me have a little something? See, every husband in always say, yeah. And then he'd break it off. Oh, you made me I just save enough money to buy another one. I just put a rubber band on. I get rubber bands all day long. See, I got wisdom with my wealth. I told my wife, she died for me, don't throw it. You can give my stuff away, but before you give it away. You know why? Because I never forgot. And see, I'm like this now. I'm going to close with this. My parents used to always admonish them. If you don't have money, you don't have no business in that store. If you don't have money to buy, you don't have no business. So let me have that. When I don't have money to buy, I don't go in that store. So, Rev, can't you just go look around? You know what looking leads to. Then you start playing Monopoly with them bills. And then when you all get that bill, and I love it as a mailman, you go to that $350,000 house, and you ring the doorbell, and they got a return check, and they say, well, where's from? It's from 7-Eleven, it's from Albertson, whatever. I wonder what they want. You know what they want. You wrote a hot check. And I said, well, it's part of the check you wrote that had rubber in it. Come on, man. See, we used to didn't be ashamed if you won the house. If you didn't have, you won a new house. You know how we do. You get a new house, or a different house, it got to be new. You fill one room up at a time. Well, now, I can't invite nobody because this room ain't got furniture in it. Well, I remember when the echo in a whole lot of the house. See, I remember when the living room was the bedroom. Just slide the divan out. And see, the divan was the security system. See, the divan would pull so far out, it would block the front door. See, I ain't forgot. And you know why I don't forget? Because you know what? I know the Lord has blessed me. Yeah. So because of his blessing, I want to be better. But the only way I'm going to be better is not forget what God has done for me. So when we go back to beans and bread, that ain't going to bother me. See, that's a meal. To the store of the day. Luby is my favorite store. And I got some pinto beans and cornbread, Brother Al. That's all I want. And I took that pinto bean and I told the lady, don't take all the juice out. Leave me a little juice in there. Leave me a little juice. And she put me a little juice in a cup. I said, I got me 2 little bowls of beans. And I went home and put it in a bigger bowl. And I poured the juice in. And I got me 2 of them cornbread muffins. And I took them in my hand. And I squashed them all up. And I was doing this in there. And then Sister Bob coming in. Ooh, what's that? Jim. You know why? Because I ain't never forgot. See, I want to be better because God has blessed me. And he said, you know what? When you get into the land of Canaan, just don't forget. And let me have it. As God has blessed us, just don't forget. Come on, don't forget. Don't forget. We make it, Sister Long. 5 hard-headed kids. 1 job. Now why we made it cost? They didn't forget. They didn't forget. They didn't forget. And Sister Brian, you know how we were? We moved from 3927 to 3827 Vineyard. Mom and Daddy working hard, and you know how us little kids, Sister Long, Sister Johnson, the father of Sister Phelps, and Brother I remember when my room was the living room. I won't forget it. Is that right, Sister Chuck? Sister Long moved out. Got mad. Her room. Sister Long come back over and hand in. What you doing in my room? All right, Sister Jones. Oh, we forgot. So I'm admonishing us now. You know what? Let's not forget. Let's don't forget. All right? God has blessed us. Let's be better for his blessing. As we go to the Lord and pray. Lord, you've been mighty good. Father, you've been extremely good. And Father, you're going to continue to be even better to us. But Lord, as Moses told the young group of the children of Israel, the reason your father's not here is because they died. And the reason they died is because they forgot all your goodness. So Lord, as we go and we teach our young people, Lord, first thing we ought to teach them is not to forget the struggles that were made on our behalf. Help us, Lord, to have some wisdom with our wealth, thanksgiving with our faith, some humbleness with our enhancement. At least we perish because of our disobedience. Now, Lord, if there's anybody here that don't know you in the pardon of the sin, Lord, you said in your word, thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in the heart that God has raised